you've trained obviously hundreds, if not thousands, of elite athletes coming up. From juniors to the NHL, guys that have won Stanley Cups. Duncan Keith, Adin Hill. I saw on your website. Who was the first guy that you trained to win a cup, and what was that feeling for you? Was it did you have a huge sense of accomplishment? Were you already deep enough in where you were happy for him, but it's still business is business?
Yeah, you know what? Well, I mean, one, Aiden trained with us at a young age, and then I haven't seen him in years. He's really, really happy for him and Logan Thompson, two guys that with Vegas that had spent some time with us and they're younger. And with Duncan Keith, it was different. I mean, I was pretty involved at the time. So I go back. I had a pretty good run of times where Zach was a young guy in the National League trying to make his way. Jordan Eberle, same thing. Mike Green and Duncan Keith, and Carey Price had spent time with us in the summers, and Ray Emery and all these guys, and it was rolling pretty good. And it was Thomas Hickey and when Dunk was, I remember it was against Philadelphia. I think Michael Leighton was the goalie with the Flyers at the time. I mean, it was kind of a Cinderella run for him. And Dunk was going through the playoffs. I think I'd been up there earlier in the season. I'd seen him a bunch during the season. And that was that was a year where I believe that was a year where Greener scored 31 that year. The year previous, he was a Norris Trophy candidate, lost to Chara. And so around the playoffs, I would be like early on in our summer, and I was working a lot. We had all these young upcoming guys. This young kid, Zach Boychuk kid, I got to get his kid over the hump. I got to get underneath that some other guys coming up through the system that I just wanted to be involved. His wife, Dunk's wife, was calling me, hey, text me, hey, be here. We'll get you tickets, everything. You tell us when you want to come. Yeah, I'll come. And I remember being like, I think it was day 1 and 6. And I said, it was like, I had like 2 days to get there. And I'm like, it's going to go to 7. I'll come for game 7 when they win. And obviously they won in 6. A little bit with me having a hard time, like getting away. A little bit me is a hard time, just like I have a hard time having fun. Butch joked about I can be. I'm not all business all the time, but I have a hard time. I have a really difficult time as a personality, as a person. I'm sure it's something. And if I went through counseling, I'd be like, Matt Crash, you need to like relax a bit and enjoy things. Like you've had the world of these unbelievable experiences, and you never allow yourself to enjoy it. I think that's a stage in my life where I really had a difficult time enjoying how good it was. And then like I was so driven to make sure that everybody else got the same opportunity, and I was so crazy about it. So I wasn't there for it, and I regret it. I didn't go to his cup party because I didn't want to jinx myself. I didn't want to go. I did set up. He did a really cool Bobby Orr style picture with the cup and a white T-shirt, and I got it all done up. And I had a canvas company that I was connected to. They did a pretty cool, like huge frame canvas. I was involved behind the scenes. I never went. That year it was Mike Green, Duncan Keith, and Drew Doughty were the 3 Norris Trophy candidates. It was in Vegas. So 2 of those guys are my clients. We were talking about it last night at dinner with Greener, and I remember being like, I got to go, but I knew one of my guys was going to lose for sure, maybe 2. And rightfully, I thought Greener probably should have won that. Dunk actually brought that up too when I saw him. Never I saw him last, saw him recently. He brought that up too. He was like, I got 31 goals. I mean, Dunk was the best player in the world that year at times. I mean, he went to the Olympics, won the Stanley Cup. And when it came to regular season, Mike Green just scored 31 goals. For the first time a D had scored that many goals in years. He broke a 25-year NHL games with goals in a row record. I mean, nobody's hit 31 since then. When I think the second most team end goals that year were like 15, where now there's 3 or 4 guys in the hunt for 30 this year. To give you an idea, like relatively speaking, that was a very outlying season for a D-man, but he was sort of the bad boy of the NHL at the time. He kind of the tattoos and the one-dimensional offensive guy. So we were talking about dinner last night, and I remember when Dunk and Greener first met, and then Greener was like, "How does Dunk so good at this?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." He talked to him, and then same time, like half an hour later, 20 minutes later, Dunk comes to the gym and from the ice. He's like, "Hey man, how does Greener score so much? Like, why don't you guys have a conversation among each other? Like, sit down and actually." And sure enough, there's an article that was in the Associated Press that talked about that. How I think actually Zach's name, Boyd, your name's mentioned in the article as one of my clients. I'll have to look for it. I'll post it this week. I have it all canvas. Like same canvas company made me a canvas of it too. But I remember that was kind of the beginning for both those guys, and they both ended up having. Dunk had a breakout season. Greener kept going along his trajectory for a while, but yeah. So I think I missed out on enjoying it. If I could go back in time, I would probably have enjoyed myself more. I just didn't want to be. I remember a buddy telling me, "You got to be more human." I didn't want to be human. I didn't want to make a mistake and let the foot off the gas for guys. I didn't want Zach Boychuk's, the Jordan Eberles to think it's okay to be casual. I wanted them to hunt for success, and I think I messed up for my own good. I mean, to be honest with you too.